Welcome back, boys and girls. It's the Jits guy. I'm excited for this podcast. Listen, this is one of those interviews where I have no idea about this person. I don't know about his background. I've never met him before, but I'm super excited to get to talk to him. From the brief few minutes leading up to this, it sounds like we're going to have a good time this podcast. Let me please introduce to you guys my guest, Alvil Tayco. Thank you very much for doing with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to doing one of these. I've been on some podcasts before, but this one's like related to something that I really love, and I'm very grateful to be part of the Jiu Jitsu community, online and offline. I guess if you want, I can talk a little bit about myself, where I'm from, or.
Alvil, I first of all, I just want to tell you straight up from the heart, I love your energy. You have such a positive energy. You're a very nice, kind person. You're very generous with your information. That's something I just wanted to make sure everybody understands, is that we're reaching each other from across the world, literally. And within 5 minutes, I already feel like I've known you for a long time.
I know. I feel the same way. It's like awesome. Like I tend to vibe with people who are positive, and like I try to, birds of a feather flock together. So like my jiu-jitsu bros and my coach are the ones who always push me forward to kind of get out of my comfort zone. And this is one of them. I love public speaking. I love like sharing information, and I love being Canadian and being here in Regina. And we're very lucky to have jiu-jitsu in, if it weren't for AJ Scales. And I want to talk about and praise a little bit about him too. And I guess we'll go with the flow with this. And this is exciting for me. So
absolutely, man. I mean, we're definitely going to get into jiu-jitsu, obviously, man. But I want to know a little bit about Regina, Saskatchewan, and your life over there. Because like when I started researching where you are, where you're located, I personally don't know much about Saskatchewan. So could you give us an idea of where it is in Canada?
We're in the middle of Canada. We're a primary like agricultural kind of economy. We're kind of like the Midwest of the U.S. for your U.S. Listeners and stuff like that. And we actually are within a wind quarter. If you want to go all technical, we have a lot. We're one of the sunniest places in Canada. We get a lot of sun, but we also get a lot of snow. So
how does that work?
Yeah, well, we have a lot of harsh winters. Like we have like 4 months of really good weather, and then the rest is like 12 months of like, I would say 6 months of like winter and kind of spring, winter weather. You know, it's
define
really,
winter. Like how cold does it get in winter?
It can get, I guess, minus 60 or 70. Like I'm so used to it. Yeah, it kind of gets really cold. It depends on the wind chill. Like it could be minus 30, but with the wind chill factor, meaning wind, it can reach up to minus 60 and 70. Like, ironically enough, like it's just harsh. Sometimes we even have like, it's not as bad out east in terms of snowfall, but we get like centimeters of snow, and like Calgary gets hit a lot, but we're in the middle. And so Saskatchewan winters, tough times make tough people out here. So we're doing okay.
Does. Yeah. How do you train jiu-jitsu? How do you warm up?
You know what? Here's the thing. AJ has talked about this. Like he wishes for like the summers of Rio de Janeiro, or like we actually soak up as much summer as we can, and we train as much as we can. And we do go down to the gym, and like we go through like I would say snowstorms or like really harsh winter just to get down to the gym. We really love jiu-jitsu that much. He really loved jiu-jitsu that much. And I know that hopefully he'll reach out, or you'll reach out to him and talk to him about jiu-jitsu in Saskatchewan. But he's one of the first originators of this. He actually, a lot of his training, he went down to Brazil and brought it to us, right? And I feel like I'm a lineage of his. And I can honestly say confidently now, after COVID, like, to be honest, I feel like a brown belt now, because like we're all on this playing field, and I always thought I'd never make it to this level, and I still don't feel worthy of it, to be honest. But
we all don't feel worthy, no matter what the belt.
I know, like when I was a blue belt, it took me 3.5 years to reach my blue belt, and it's because like AJ waited for the right time, and I feel it's the right time. Normally it takes a normal average person 2, but you know what? Like, my dad says, wait for the appointed time again. And like, AJ was correct in promoting me at that time. It's just like every level I feel inadequate. I suck for the first months when you get promoted, you feel like you suck again. And then all of a sudden you start getting better. And I think I feel confident now, more so because like I feel worthy because like we're at a level now where we're doing intellectual jiu-jitsu, right? Like when you
Right.
study, right? And like the things that we miss within the gym are our social group that we have, our bros or jiu-jitsu bros and girls and stuff like
Yeah.
that. We're really studying now. Like there's so much free content, bro. We're so
Yes.
lucky. This is the
Yes.
time to like a quantum leap of thinking. Dean Lister says, why ignore 50% of the body? Well, guess what? 100% of jiu-jitsu is up in the head right here, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And that's the crazy thing. Can you imagine us going through this COVID 30 years ago without BJJ fanatics, without online? That would be
yeah.
one depressing phase.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness,
And
man. That would have been terrifying.
yeah. Yeah. And you think about it, like we live in modern times, right? And the
Yes.
fact that we can communicate and have ways of keeping in touch with each other.
Big time.
I've always tried to, because I feel an obligation to my coach, to try to make it to every Zoom class that he had. The one time I missed was because
Yes.
I had taken his advice and get some sun. I got sunburned and I missed one Friday class.
You got sunburned in Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Because it gets sunny. It does get sunny, right?
Okay.
There's a misconception that Canada's really cold all the time. Like we have polar bears in our backyard and igloos and stuff like that. But we're very much like the Midwest of the US, and also I would say unique to us. Like Canada isn't always cold all the time. We have our spring, summer, fall, winter.
I like that. Al, you said something very interesting to me. You're like, AJ went to Brazil and got us jiu-jitsu. Did he kidnap a Brazilian? How did that? Like, what do you mean he went to Brazil and got us jiu-jitsu?
I guess it all started with UFC, and he'll tell his story way more better. But he initially got interested with his friend Troy, and they started watching tape, and he said, I got to get into this. So they had a collective of people gather, the old school garage training, right?
Yeah.
And think about it. That's pretty awesome. And then he decided, okay, I got to up my training. I got to go to the source, right?
Yes.
And he took time out of his young life. Think about it. When you're young, and when you're like an amazing young athlete, you decide, okay, I got to learn from the source. He goes down and he meets connection in Novignal. And the early years, we're talking before there was household names like Jose Aldo or Leo Santos or Shaolin or there's Gilbert Burns or like the legacy of it, right? Like Andre Perneris and like Wendell Alexander, the two fathers of Novignal, right?
Sure.
And so he went down there. He's like me, nice and personable, but also I feel he's a tough guy. Like he's a strong dude, and like but he also has great character. And I try to emulate that all the time by being like an ambassador for the sport. Meaning like during this whole time, I haven't just stopped studying jiu-jitsu. Like I'll tell a little quick story for anyone. Like I actually got this last year. I got an eye infection because I was barbecuing. I love food, and I got ash in my eye, and it took me out for a month and 3 weeks. The longest I've been away from jiu-jitsu for the last 13 years. Oh, wow. And so it made me want to reach out for online sources, and I was an online. I joined the Blue Belt Mafia when I was a purple belt a long time ago, but I asked to be admin because I craved jiu-jitsu so much, so I started going for online resources and stuff like that, right? It's just not the same, obviously, with training with your friends and your teammates. But that month and 3 weeks, I always wondered, why did that happen? And I realized now this is the reason why. It's because I needed to keep my mind sharp as well as get more responsibility and be an ambassador for this sport. I'm an ordinary dude. Like I'm more mathlete than athlete, right? Like I'm more a math guy than an athletic guy. And I find that the more I concentrate on being an athletic guy, the more I have more physical activity, the more sharper and smarter I am, right? Sure. And that's all related to COVID too, because like, guess what? All the classes that I took as electives, biology, kinesiology, all those electives that I thought, why am I taking these? I have a gut feeling to take this. Well, it's helped understand what this pandemic is, right?
Yes.
About 5 years ago, even, I read this book by Neil Strauss called Emergency. And it helped me prepare mentally on how, okay, what do we have to do in order to secure our household, right? Make sure you have extra water. Make sure you have solar-powered devices so that you can charge your phone regularly. Make sure.
So you
get
went all out, man. You went all in when it started. You
Oh,
wanted to get focused.
yeah, and the funny thing is, it's like all this experience has kind of helped me understand how everything works. It's like all the defeats and wins in terms of my academic life, and has translated to, and even my jiu-jitsu life has translated, and it helped me prepare for life in general, right?
Got you.
And that's the one thing everyone forgets about jiu-jitsu. It's like it's not just the physical aspect of being able to defeat another opponent, right?
Right.
It's about like self-improvement, being a better person, having a good mindset. All my friends, I feel that I'm blessed to be at Complete MMA and with AJ. It's simply because I'm there as their fun guy, and also as a guy who always will have their back, like for everything. Like when COVID happened, I got hit with a lot of messages. Alvil, what's happening? Can you explain this to me? Right?
Okay.
I'm like, okay, time to put on like academic hat on and like start going to work. So while my sister and mom were sleeping, I late at night would be studying. I belong to two COVID groups. One COVID group is called the Fold, meaning they start doing computer modulating the virus. Secondly, the other one is COVID first responders, where they share information for PPE, meaning like personal protective equipment.
And sorry, just to stop you there, and this is just like public people. You're not being hired by anybody. You're not being pushed by anybody. You're doing this as volunteers.
Yeah, and
Incredible.
there's a collection of those. I joined at 12,000 people for one group. It's blown up to 1,000, 100,000, 100,013 people, and they're all sharing information simultaneously. The other group for folding the curve. There's millions of people, millions of computers are trying to model this virus and stuff like that.
You don't get stuck in over analyzing the situation. You don't get stuck in too much information, like paralysis by analysis.
Well, it depends on if, for instance, if they want to do the entire modeling of the virus, they concentrate on that. Right now, they're concentrating on one protein strand, so they have diverted certain computing power to modeling that one strand because it's weakest length, right? That's just last week. And so to understand all that information, you have to have experience, and also you have to be very lucky, because like it was a perfect storm for me to understand each of the components, like layman's terms and scientific terms, right? And I always realized, why in my life have I had a hard university life. As like I always studied, I had discipline to that. It's come in handy now. And to explain to my friends who ask me and have actual concerns, man, I feel like useful again, right?
Yeah.
So I also realized too, like there's certain timelines you have to set for yourself, right? Like you have to have expectation, and everyone's waiting for a vaccine, but it takes time. And every day that we go forward in this, for sure, every day that passes, people with higher brain capacity, who are higher pay grades than me, will figure this out. And that takes away all the stress of it, right? Yes. Because we got to trust in scientific data, right?
I think that's where the problem lies, is a lot of people aren't trusting these days, because we've gone through a very radical year, I would say, in history of humanity. A lot of corruption has been exposed. A lot of revolutions have been happening around the world, riots and protests, till today in the US. So trust is a major issue. So now these entities that we thought were protecting us, that don't protect us as well as we wanted to, suddenly come on and say, I've got a vaccine for you. Say, fuck that. I'm not trusting that entity anymore. And I think that's, even though you're right, there's genuine people like you. You're volunteering. You're not being paid to do this, and you're doing this with your effort. There's people that have the volunteer heart and mindset, yet are also getting paid and are extremely credible working on it. Except the only issue is they have really bad PR, because the quote unquote, I hate to put it this way, the douchebags that actually go up in front of the TV and that actually want to take credit for it, that didn't do shit towards it, are ruining the credible people's job, because these people are genuine in what they're doing. They're trying to find a solution, but they don't have the personality or the time even to be in the front. So I think, could you give us an idea from your experience researching this? Obviously, everybody knows now what the coronavirus is, why it's dangerous, what's the risk factors. Let's be pragmatic. The world thinks we're just going to go back to normal in 6 months. Is that likely, you think?
It will if we stay the course, but it won't. Everyone hates the word new normal. There has to be a new normal.
Yes,
And the thing is,
absolutely.
the thing is, this is the ultimate test of humanity. How do we treat each other, right? How do we treat science? How do we treat our own people in our respective countries? And this is the ultimate test for humanity. In terms of speed of knowledge, we've been in unprecedented times. We're talking millions of computational computing power for modeling this virus across systems. From old systems, we're talking like old computer system architecture to now. So that's why I'm very hopeful. Every day that passes, I tell myself, is a day closer to a cure, or is a day closer to a vaccine. And so we will probably have a new normal in 6 months' time. We won't, hopefully we'll have a vaccine in spring, but that we're coming out with new methodologies to treat not just the virus, but drug therapies, right? For instance, a low grade, I can't pronounce the names. I really, a low grade steroid that's been given in hospitals now, you can look it up, has been
dexamethasone.
Thank you. Has shown promising things to cure the inflammation. Now, I have a theory. I'm going to say this out loud. Of course, corona comes through respiratory, but it attacks the blood vessels. That's why you're seeing people with type 2 diabetes, people with sickle cell anemia, the most vulnerable in terms of that in society, like anyone with heart and stroke disease, anything with that is to do with people who are minorities or have that genetically in their family, and the elderly as well. So it makes sense why inflammation in the body is bad. It raises your temperature. The virus replicates through everything. As a diabetic, I know that the glycan outer layer, my body doesn't really recognize sugar that well. That's why it doesn't produce enough insulin to carry out the energy molecules. To do that. So what does the virus do? It attaches to whatever immune system, which is weakened, by the way, because if you're type 2 diabetic, you don't heal as fast, right? Yes. So that's why it's hitting the vulnerable in terms of that. So they're finding it more, they're treating the symptoms of blood inflammation. Like, it's not just air. Everyone thought it was air. It's like, yes, of course, take care of the air, take care of your lungs. It's more to do with multi-system organ failure because you're not getting enough oxygen to your system, right? They find that there's high levels of iron deposits within the blood. It's like you're being from the Himalayas and being dropped down immediately, right? Yes. So people who are in hyperbaric chambers have a higher rate of survival from COVID if they're in there. They're very lucky. In terms of like even sitting down for percussive therapy, right? Yes. Percussive therapy, when you're not supposed to lie back, you actually breathe from the back of your lungs, not from the forward. We know that as Jiu Jitsu guys, right? So,
yes, 100%.
So it's very interesting to see how they're treating it now. So every time they have treatment, they understand, okay, it's a respiratory virus that invades the blood vessels. How do we treat inflammation? That's why a lot of people who are on anti-inflammatory drugs are being more successful, right? They even did a study for Lyme disease. There's a particular drug that is a vitamin that is crucial for Lyme disease, and they're doing studies about it treats inflammation. Well, guess what? Lower inflammation, lower your fever, lower the chance of you having multi-system organ failure, right?
This is very interesting, actually, that you're mentioning these things because I used to have a medical consulting company for medical tourism, and one thing I definitely correlated with a doctor, a specialist. Basically, coronavirus, like you said, affects people heavily that have compromised immune systems, but as well have a compromised blood clotting disorder. Because basically, where the strokes generate from is the clotting disorders that they have, and it limits the oxygen to the different organs. And it's clotting in the kidneys, it's clotting in the liver, and in the lungs, obviously. So once you go into pneumonia, anybody with an MTHFR gene, homozygous gene manipulation, are more likely to get a clotting and therefore a stroke, and it could end up in the saddle of the heart, and that's why many people are dying.
Yes, exactly.
So actually a preventative means to it. A lot of doctors in this region, by the way, and in Greece, now I'm not a doctor, I'm not recommending this, but this is actually what I know is happening, is either aspirin, cyclosporin, or Xarelto, rivaroxaban, which is blood-thinning medications. That they limit the blood clotting functionality. So even if you do get COVID, in our hospitals here, they are giving people rivaroxaban, 20 milligrams.
And
So
it makes sense because like you're getting more oxygen to the blood in the right places, and that way you don't have
yes,
multi-system organ failure and you don't have risk of stroke and stuff like that. They
yeah.
also did like in terms of lungs too, like there was a successful like lung transplant for a girl in New York
Mm.
in regards to COVID, because COVID does scar. Think about it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It does
obviously,
scar.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's really fascinating to see all the not only anecdotal but like scientific uh, 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 proven like facts that are helping fight this virus. In
Mhm.
6 months' time, I can't predict. I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm just a guy who has a
Yeah.
computer science degree, but
Yes.
also studied very intensely like biology and
Yes.
kinesiology and like health sciences. Right? I just got lucky.
I
You
like
know.
that about you, man. But since you have been exposed to a lot of the information, I wanted to ask you, have you heard? Because I'm not on the bandwagon of vaccine or cure. I'm not on it at all. I'm not even interested in it. What
Yeah.
I know our immune systems will eventually kick in. The Spanish flu of 1916 is our common influenza today. It never
Yeah.
really got treated. What
Yeah.
I want to know is the testing. When the hell are we going to have a 30-second test that is quick and efficient and 100%? That is when I think new normal comes back.
Yeah. I would say it's really hard to be an impossibility. It depends. Like a long time ago, there was this woman who had a company that proposed it. I forget her name. And like
Mm.
you have like one droplet and it analyzes every disease known to
Yeah,
man. Right?
like a sugar test, like an insulin
Yeah,
test.
like
Yeah.
exactly. And they found out her to be a fraud because like it's really an impossibility, right? You
Mm.
need more. If you think about data samples and stuff, you need more information in order to get a clear result, even down to DNA samples and stuff like that, right?
Mm.
So everyone wants a rapid testing thing. It took years, man. Think about, here's a good example. I was talking to a friend. The HIV epidemic that happened during the early 80s, right? Still don't have a cure for HIV. It's called Epidemic or something like that. They don't have a cure, but they have drug therapies and stuff like that, right? So,
Yes.
so what did they do during that time? There's a wonderful movie called The Band Plays On, and it talks about that exact like moment in time, and it shows how like scientific data, the medical community zeroed in on what was happening for individuals as well as a group community. Where did the spread come from, right? Let's
Yes.
take it back even to the future now. Like, I'll give another example. Computer games, of all things, right? They did a scientific study when players were infected. One of their gaming players were infected in one of their simulations, and who were the helpers in regards to that, right? Now, I'm kind of
Interesting.
dancing around the thing about like having a rapid test. I don't think it will come. I think you still have to do the swab thing. It really is really hard to say. We know from past, we're trying to wait out and burn this thing out, right?
Hmm.
But we know that COVID is here to stay forever because there's different mutations and different waves
Yes.
and stuff like that.
Yes,
So
unfortunately.
what do we do? We don't want to shut down our economy. I agree with that. We don't want to shut down a lot of things that we love, like jujitsu and stuff. We have to be smart about it, right?
Mm.
So I think knowing who has it, well, that comes into privacy and security issues, right? There's even
Major,
debate on that, right?
major
I
issues.
I actually I'm going to tell you this. I watch late at night New Zealand, right? Jacinda
Mm.
Ardern is an amazing leader. They're
Hmm.
doing COVID right. They knew
Hmm.
what to do. They're isolating, but they're still keeping their economy growing. They're keeping people informed. And that's where you have power in your decision
Mm.
making, right? When we first learn anything, we need to have some sort of data set in order to come to a conclusion, right?
Yep.
So I'm saying, like, it's even comes to the point of even how do we distribute said tests too? Who's going to pay for it? All the economy of this. We're
Mm.
going to have. We never thought of that, right? You never
Mhm.
think about all those little points of things. I'll give kudos to Bill Gates though, because like he's preparing. He has, I recall, I think 7 methodologies of which could help fight COVID. He'll take the best top 3 and create distribution systems for vaccine. Now,
Okay.
I'm pro-vaccine. The reason being because my sister is in health. I'm protecting her because
Mm.
I believe She, as a health professional, will do that. My mom's over a certain age. I protect them. I have a younger family. My brother has a younger family. I do that not for my health, but for the health of others. And we have to change that attitude. Like it's hard to do, especially when people are more individualistic for themselves. I guess the point being is to sum it up. Like if there's a vaccine, I'm going to take it because I got to protect my household. I believe in scientific data. Will other people believe in it? It's their risk and their choice. But if I'm wearing a mask to protect myself, I'm more wearing a mask to protect your family as well. I've been telling people online to do that. I wish people in Saskatchewan right now that some people aren't wearing masks, some people are. The immune compromised, I know they're wearing masks. They're doing it for themselves, but also for others, right?
I think Al, the main problem with Corona wasn't Corona. Right? Corona exposed problems. And we a lot of people didn't like that, and they pointed the finger at Corona. We have been living a decade away from instinct, away from natural means of living as humans. We're slowly drifting into this completely capitalistic consumer society. And like it's to the advantage of economy, because the more conditioned we are to consume, the more individualistic we are, the more selfish we are, the better the economy runs. Because look at it, when you are more gracious and giving and minimalistic, the economy doesn't really function so well. If you're a person that can live on very little, that shares with others, that's not really... How can you inspire others to get into the rat race when other people are helping them already? You know?
Yeah. Can I point out something? I believe like in good attitudes and also like law of attractions like that. I'm gonna bring it out. Might as well. It's the reason why economies fail is like it's not about like who hoards the most. It's more like circulation. It's like abundant. Like that's why you have the infinity sign, right? And so you're right. Like we've been trained to not like think about like our overall health. Like we should start doing things like even on the Joe Rogan podcast, God bless him, he talks about like, why aren't we talking about building immunity or like being healthy or like or stopping type 2 diabetes or doing those types of researches because it's not profitable and stuff like that.
Exactly.
I get that, right? And so this is a great shake up and wake up for humanity. How do we treat those? We've been so complacent with our health. Even me, like man, like the reason why I started jiu-jitsu was because I had type 2 diabetes. And like can I go into that story really quick?
Please, okay? Yes. That's obviously, man. Yeah.
Might as well. I hope you edit this because like it's for time and stuff, but
I don't edit. Go for it.
Okay. So anyway, my coach AJ Scales, God bless him. I was 2 days out of the hospital. I decided to change my life. I'm going to eat healthy. I go down to this restaurant called Miso. It was on Scar Street. I walk in. AJ's sitting at the corner. I know he had trained with my brother. My brother's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's been doing it for a long time. And I think I went up to him and I said hello, and I say, hey, I know you train with my brother. He asked me some questions too. He asked how I'm doing, like, why are you here? Like, I don't usually eat sushi. And like I said, man, I just got out of the hospital for 2 days trying to change my life. And you know that conversation that Danny here has with Dean Lister, like that one conversation that changes your life profoundly. Well, that
about the footlock conversation.
But it turned out to be for my life, right?
Wow.
So he said, come down to the gym. Why don't you try jiu-jitsu? And I never looked back since. And like I've had my ups and downs with jiu-jitsu, like, and jiu-jitsu's always been there for me. And that's why I'm always like an advocate for AJ, because I see all the behind the scenes stuff that he goes through, because he's trusted me with being like a leader within the gym. Like I finally got to help with the white belts a couple of years ago, and it's changed my life because I love the white belts. I love that they're learning. I love that when they win, right? I like to think I give a lot to the gym just by my personality and like caring about their lives outside the gym, right? So I'm getting emotional because I love those guys so much. And so in order to facilitate the good works that he's seen in myself, he's helped me grow as a person, right?
Yes.
And so I love AJ for that. It took me 5 years to realize like you have that dichotomy of like 5 years within my jiu-jitsu journey, he's like my coach, like my sensei, he all
Mm-hmm.
reverent. And I realized like he considered me my friend from the get-go.
Yeah.
Right. I just realized that. And like, it's how can I be ambassador for him? So I speak good of him because he's
Yes.
a good person, but not only by his words, by his actions. He's
Yeah.
helped other people besides myself. Right.
Mm-hmm.
He's helped people get work in law enforcement. He writes recommendation letters. He helps people who like are starting out in life and had a difficult road, and then like uses jiu-jitsu as a vehicle to build leaders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like a leader now. That's why I feel finally I can honestly say I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu because of COVID.
Yes.
Ironic of all the things, all the intellectual stuff. Because I'm more an intellectual thinker, but I love sharing knowledge, right?
Yes.
And so because of that one conversation with AJ changed the course of my life, because I wouldn't have the best friends I have, and they're all fighters, and I have normal friends too. Like I have those normal friends, but my best friends are fighters, and I miss them daily, but they're staying home for me, or they're being healthy for me, and I'm being healthy for them, right? Because I can't give up. That's the whole thing. I have had my ups and downs. Like, here's the thing. My dad passed away 5 years ago. I think about him every day. The first people who reached out to me was, of course, AJ and the boys, and my best friends who, my best friends in my life. And
very cool.
Thing is, like the gym, he said, even when my dad was like sick in the hospital, the gym will always be there for you. The gym will always be there for you. And so, like, I gotta be there for the gym even now. Sorry,
man, I get you.
So how do I protect the gym? Well, I try to keep healthy. I go to the Zoom classes. I actually act as like I try to keep all my friends, even the white belts. Like I don't see this, to be honest. I try to keep their spirits up. I send them messages. I ask how they're doing.
Amazing.
All these things, because like that's the level of love I have for not only Jim and AJ, but for anyone that has been in my life. They asked me to be the maven, which is a Malcolm Gladwell term. I read a lot, man. And to be the best that I can be, but also to be a center of information for a variety of people from different walks of life.
Yes.
So it's very powerful how my life's changed because of jiu-jitsu, and that's why we're talking now. Think about it.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Man, honestly, listen, you're striking a chord in me, because I know what jiu-jitsu is and how it has such a diverse ability to offer so much good to people. Hearing your story is so refreshing at the same time, because, man, there's more to it than pohada. There's more to it than competing and points and the medals that we've all like been. Jiu-jitsu in the last few years has always been like the competition's keen and get the lapel, beat people and stuff. But man, it's people like you talking to us, sharing this beautiful story you have with jiu-jitsu that remind us why the fuck we do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It's not on the mats. It's this relationship that you develop with people, and I'm so happy. I love your story, and man, I don't know what to tell you. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I have one more story in terms of medals and stuff. I'll tell you one. I had a Buchecha moment.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, you know, Buchecha gave one of his teammates a medal when he didn't fight. They, out of respect, they bowed. And so my friend Paul Grabinski did the same thing when I was in jiu-jitsu tournament for Kopasas. I never won a gold medal. I tried. My white belt matches were more better. I tried flying arm bars. I did whatever. Every time I kept on getting nervous and stuff. But one match where I was up against Paul, because I was still master in heavyweight division. I still was in his thing. Paul, I made it past second round. I'm up against Paul. Paul says, never mind, bows down and gives me his medal. I started crying on the mat like crazy.
Whoa.
And yeah, man, it was like powerful. And like when I came home that day, I was a purple belt. And I said, Dad, look at this. I got a gold medal.
Yeah.
It was the most powerful thing. That my dad smiled, and he does smile when he's proud of me and stuff like that. And I always have that medal. I keep it near in a special place in near my bed, and I look at it, and it reminds me of my dad in that memory. I mean, I don't know why I'm crying on the podcast, but it just, I'm just an emotional dude, and I get that. So, but jiu-jitsu is an emotional thing, because like Norman Yao has this concept, and it's true. More than a team, a family. right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
complete MMA is more than a team. It's a family. That's why I'm not worried about the existence of our gym. We will
Yes.
always have the gym because people will stand by AJ through thick and thin, right?
That's amazing.
So and he carries that forward, and we got to do the same. I mean, if you think about it, like it's a very powerful statement because I'm an ordinary dude. I consider myself ordinary, more an athlete than athlete. And now that I consider myself an athlete, game's on. Like that means like using every utility in my arsenal to help understand everything, but also to help where I can. Right,
man. Yeah, I'm telling you, like it's funny. Jiu-Jitsu aside, in life, I've had myself ups and downs. I've had a lot of difficult moments in my life. There's a reason I know what blood clots are and what blood medication is.
Yeah.
The best things that have happened in my life came after extreme hardships.
Yeah.
The best things that I've ever experienced, the best growth I've had in my life came after times when I felt like the walls were fucking closing in and I got claustrophobic.
Yeah.
And it's funny for me to hear that it seems to be like the more people I talk to, the more common this, let's say, this lesson is when a person's sitting in a situation and feels like the walls are closing in and it's getting difficult, brace yourself, because if you are willing to accept it, that's when the growth is going to happen. That's when things are going to happen for you. And like you went through that diabetes phase in the hospital, and then you leave, you meet Al, and look how your life's changed, man.
Oh yeah.
Unreal.
That's why I mean, like, there's an old philosopher by the name of Seneca, and Seneca once said,
"Of course,
know who you are and adorn yourself accordingly." And it's not just the things we wear. Like I'm wearing this fight mode T-shirt from Complete MMA because we're in the fight of our lives for our sport and for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not just the things that we wear, but the experiences we have, to the relationships that we do. And like this is why this is humanity's greatest challenge. There's an author by the name of Mitch Albom, and there's a book that Tuesdays with Maury. It's a wonderful book. And Maury, who's dying of ALS, gives us one last advice to Mitch of a plethora of all life lessons. He said, love each other or perish, right? What does that mean? That means we have to care each other as much as we love ourselves and to our fellow man as we do. The golden rule, right? So this is our chance. Like that's why I believe in so much in humanity, because like I see the good, I seek the good. We're as martial artists, we're trained to do that. Like competition isn't enemies nowadays. It's sport jiu-jitsu. It's about being better with your other competitors, right?
Right.
And AJ has facilitated that in Saskatchewan. He's created a jiu-jitsu federation so that we can promote our sport beyond the years that we are in it. He has created make sure that people have insurance so that we can survive injuries on the mat, right? No one realizes it takes a lot of effort to do that, right?
Wow.
And so I hope when you talk to him, he'll talk about his journey, because it's amazing.
Will.
Right?
I definitely will, man, because he clearly is a person who's very visionary. Like a lot of the things that you're telling me he did was very visionary, but as well, I think seeing something in you, and I'm slowly seeing it as we talk more and more, and I kind of see why you have the relationship with certain people that you've told me about. Al, man, you have such an infectious positivity and such a nice energy. I'm telling you, you're humbling me, because I thought I love jiu-jitsu and what it offers me. And I realize there's a whole new level to this game. Just like I get humbled by like this insane black belt that crushes me. You're crushing me right now with how much potential jiu-jitsu has for people in a completely different mindset. I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about your health with regards to jiu-jitsu. Do you consider yourself now in better health than you were when you started jiu-jitsu?
Oh, 100%. Here's a good study of this. I'll even tell you now.
Nice.
I have to be on more medication because I haven't had my regular dose of exercise. This is okay. I have we were tracking my blood sugars. I had to be on better medication just because I stopped for that month. I had to increase my dosages, right?
I'm sorry to stop you there, but there's me and there's a lot of people listening that may not fully understand the scope of diabetes too, and what that means for their body. So could you give me just a quick breakdown?
Okay, for those who don't know what type 2 diabetes is, it's the lack of insulin to transport like glucose molecules, which is like sugar, to energy reserves in your body, right? You have too much glucose, it can actually wreak havoc on your system, weaken your heart vessels, all these things.
Yes.
For men, it's even worse because it kind of ages you in a way too. And what you need to do is either take certain medications like metformin, or even take insulin if you're extreme diabetic, and your blood sugar can't reach a certain level. It should be between the ranges of 4 or 7, right? Ideally, right?
Okay.
If it reaches 10 and above, you're in super danger, because like you're not just affecting your energy levels, but you're also affecting the walls and blood vessels of your heart and stuff. That's why there's a high rate of heart disease and stroke amongst diabetes people, right?
Got you.
So for me, this was a huge litmus test of like, okay, I was off certain medications because of jiu-jitsu. Now that I don't have my regular like strenuous workout, my blood sugars are extremely high. But luckily, because we started doing Zoom classes and starting doing that on a regular basis, I'm able to lower down my sugar levels at a normal pace. Jiu-jitsu has changed my life in terms of physicality. I look younger. Okay, I'm going to admit something here. Might as well. I'm 40 years old. I do not look 40, right?
No, you don't.
No, I don't. And it's just because of my mindset, as well as reverse engineering everything. I should send you a picture, and it's like a really bad picture of me when I looked like at my heaviest, which is like 230 pounds. I look terrible. And then
This
now
was when?
like,
This was before jiu-jitsu, or?
oh yeah, like 13 years ago. I kept off at least 40 pounds for sure. Like I used to be 240. And then jiu-jitsu, I'm at 200 now, but I was at 195 last week. I just started to increase weightlifting. Like I had muscle mass loss for sure because of lack of strenuous work, but that's something that I have to work on too, right?
Yeah.
Diet as well. But you know what? Like I am stronger now. Like I noticed like all the time that we spent off the mats, ladies and gentlemen, we got to heal. Like I'm not sure about you. I feel achy between my knees, my elbows. I miss getting armbarred. I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah, like we start for the first month of COVID for sure. People started healing. They're starting to feel like less strain in the shoulders and stuff. For me, it was my knees. But regardless, like being type 2 diabetic and jiu-jitsu, if I don't have regular exercise, I know that even mentally and physically, I need it. Right. My social circle is based on jiu-jitsu. I hang out with them the most, because they make me, we have a healthy lifestyle. We can't go out party every weekend. We actually, here's the thing, Saturdays, for instance, every Saturday, go down to the gym, train, and then even in the evenings, if there's UFC, we all just go watch and just like, we eat healthy after, like we go to our local like sushi restaurant and stuff like that. And like,
I love it.
Like, so it's like a more communal thing, if anything. So the lifestyle has changed me and has a positive result, right? Yes. So I miss my friends lots, and I get that. So how do we balance it all? By having like balance of your sugars for any athlete, right? If you even get a chance to have programs where they monitor your blood sugar, if you know you're hungry, it helps with your metabolic rate, which in turns helps you burn more fat and maintain muscle. All of those things, right? So it's kind of a blessing in disguise. Like I had a joke. One of my training partners, Mark, said, "Alvil, you may live longer than most of us because they have more research. Like my pancreas is damaged. That's the thing. The pancreas is damaged. If you're type 1 diabetic, you cannot produce insulin for the life of you. So that's why you have to have insulin soft. Type 2, at least I can produce some insulin, right?
Yes.
So how do we do that? It's transportation of energy to the body. That's why carbs are such a huge killer for diabetics, right? Because carbs turn to glucose. Glucose is overwhelming to the body, right? That's why a high protein and vegetable fiber diet is recommended for a diabetic, right?
Yes.
So, but I still need my carbs. So how do we do that? We supplement it with exercise, keeping the metabolic rate high, ensuring that you slough off the weight and stuff. Like
so you do eat carbs, but you have to work out right after.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
So I started like sometimes I feel weak. Sometimes when I begin beginner class because I forgot to eat, it's my own fault. So I have to make sure I have at least something in my system to write out the warm up. I like to say I always try to survive the warm up because
Yeah.
like that's for any class, and AJ
Yeah.
does work us that works us
Boot
hard.
camp.
But yeah.
Okay.
Like here's the funny thing. Like I have more energy doing the warm up for when I do it with the white belts because like I feel like I'm helping them. And then when I go to my own class for advanced, because we do it right after, I feel like how come is it easier for me to do the warm-ups in the white belt class? Not because the difficulty level is the same, because AJ does not care about like what's going
It's
on.
mindset, Al.
Yeah,
It's
it's the
mindset.
mindset. It's like
Yeah.
gotta be a beast, right? So
Yeah.
and so like so why is it I think it's like I love the fact that I can thrive off of the energy of helping people. And so that's where I thrive because of that, right?
Yeah.
So
When you feel like
in the
people are
long
looking at you for something, you feel
yeah,
like you've got more energy to give. But when you're looking at others for something, you feel you have less
yeah,
energy. I totally
yeah,
understand
yeah,
that. I totally
yeah.
understand that.
It's weird feeling, but it feels like if I can do like there's an old like I think it was from a movie. If another man can do it, you can too, right? Like
Mm.
it's just like a quote, and like that's for any person. Like if a person who first begins a class has trouble doing push-ups, dude, I said this too shall pass. I'll do them with you, right? And I
Right, right.
think everyone thinks jiu-jitsu is such an individual sport because it is in a way, but
Hmm.
we need a team, and this thing has shown us we need each other, right, in
Yep.
order to be better, right?
Yep.
So
Absolutely,
it's
man. Like
yeah,
that's the thing. You take for granted a lot of things
yeah,
in life. And I think this is a big takeaway from this conversation we're having right now is a lot of people, they take for granted the blessings, whether it is their body's ability to break down sugar, right?
yeah,
And then they go and they binge on candy and they binge on sweets and then they don't even walk after it.
yeah,
I hope people that, not to shame and not to make them feel bad, but if they listen to this and they know that they have a little bit too much sugar or candy and then they just don't do anything about it, it doesn't mean nothing's happening in their body.
yeah,
It means their body is getting taxed as they do
yeah,
that. They
yeah,
might not notice it because they're not type 2 diabetic or type 1, but it is going to lead to something if they don't fix their ways. And we take it for granted. With Corona, with Jiu Jitsu, what Corona did is it taught us that we may be taking our teammates and our gyms for granted because
oh yeah,
there's nothing without them. There's no
yeah,
competition. That's why we say os, onigai shimasu. Os represents thanking your opponent for allowing you the opportunity to train because without
yeah,
them, they wouldn't exist.
yeah. And that's why I totally 100% agree with that respect for not only your sensei, because I've done different martial arts. Here's the crazy thing, you made me think. I've done
Mm-hmm.
Shotokan karate, I have a
Mm-hmm.
white belt in that. I've done Hapkido, I have a blue belt in that. I actually went to Korea and did that. I
Oh,
went to I did Japanese jiu-jitsu at the university because I wanted to be in that community, right? And
yes.
like and so of all the ones I stuck with the most, obviously it has been Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And why is that? It's
Mm.
because AJ has created a sense of community, but also the people that make it, right? And like
Yeah.
there's a saying, like you're the most important person in the gym isn't you, it's your training partner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, man, you don't realize that now. I discovered that when I had my eye infection by the ash. That's
Yeah.
what I was trying to get at. I'm in for the Blue Belt Mafia, and and if it weren't for them, also they also promote your podcast quite readily whenever anyone has that. So they try to share it as much as they
I
can.
gotta
Whenever
get on this group, man. Right
yeah,
after
yeah,
this, we gotta
I
figure it
highly
out.
recommend. There's so
Okay.
many there's so many high level
I
black
love
belts
it.
that are in, like Chance the Grappler, Mark Kuro. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. Like Luis Brasilia is like he's the one who started. He's a purple belt now, and
Okay.
there's Michaela Presley. Like there's so many people there who are like high level, and
Very
they're
cool.
helping blue belts understand jiu-jitsu more. This was the whole point of it, right?
Wow.
Sharing information and stuff like that, right? So yeah, I highly recommend searching online sources, but you have to put that into practice. Online sources aren't going away. Jiu-jitsu is never going away. We just got into a quantum leap of
Mm.
all things, right? You can subscribe to so many things now, right? And like it's funny, like when who was the one who gave away his DVD?
John Danaher.
Yeah, not only John Danaher, the other one that starts with the B. Forget. Like he has a meme where he's like, holy.
Bernardo Faria.
Yeah. And like that was the smartest marketing move ever in life, but also he wanted to give it for the sake of the art, right?
Yes,
and you saw the genuineness of it, because like people are hailing him like he's the first one to start this off, giving away stuff for free. But jiu-jitsu is a way and a lifestyle that should be not taken for granted, but also like nothing is freely given. You have to do act to have
it's an exchange. It's an exchange,
right? So
you know something, Al? No worries. Right on this point that you're saying with the community and being together, I think one huge thing that happened during this time, and not many people are talking about this. Before coronavirus, everybody was fixated on their jiu-jitsu game, their teams, their clubs, their pohada, their dances after they win the Pan Ams. We weren't looking at each other as much as we should. We weren't interacting with each other as much as we should. What Corona allowed us, because we got hungry for jiu-jitsu, we started looking at other teams. We started subscribing to Atos, then Mendes Brothers, then we started subscribing to Bernardo Faria, John Danaher. What's going on in the Middle East? Now Al is watching a podcast that's based on jiu-jitsu in the Middle East. Like, we started reaching out to each other in a way we never have. So I think once we get out of this, man, it's going to be pretty damn cool. We're going to have a lot more in our family of jiu-jitsu.
Can I point out something? That's why I've been very lucky to have, like, I think we talked about this offline as well. Like, I managed to meet the greats currently in Regina, Saskatchewan.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I met Cyborg Abreu. I've met Andre Galval. And here's a funny little story. Sometimes I'll comment on his Instagram posts. He'll comment back. It's crazy. He's such a nice guy. Right? Like, I met Hobson Mora. I've met like Leo Santos. I met like Wagner Fabiano, like AJ's coach, Leo Santos, Wagner Fabiano. I met Wendell Alexander, our founder, just through AJ alone. For my own jiu-jitsu journey, when I was a white belt, I met like Marcelo Garcia, and I met Bruno Fernandez, GSP's jiu-jitsu coach in Montreal, right? And that's crazy. People would be like, and I've only lived one life, and I've gotten to meet the greats in this time period, right? It's crazy to me.
That's the beauty of jiu-jitsu, though. It's they may feel inaccessible, but the nature of jiu-jitsu is that they are accessible because they're on the mats. So many sports, when you reach a certain level, you cannot train with people. You cannot train with people. If you're a professional boxer like Floyd Mayweather, you can't go into a boxing gym and spar. If you're a kickboxing champion, you can't go into a gym and spar with people. But jiu-jitsu, Bushesha can come spar with your entire class tomorrow. No problem.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's a mind-boggling, because like you see the Stuart Cooper films and you think, oh man, like I just talked with this guy not even half an hour ago. That's crazy. And you know what? It's the character and the fortitude that they have and show they don't have to come down to Regina, Saskatchewan to train or to give a seminar, but they do because they love the sport. And plus the nature of AJ himself, right?
Yes.
Because like to have such a giving spirit and to be ambassador, it's very hard to be ambassador when no one's like helping you like build things, right?
100%. Yeah. That's very true. So I want to let's get into a little bit of jiu-jitsu here. So you're white belt, you're starting to learn jiu-jitsu, you're battling your initial health condition. What did you start discovering? When did it start clicking? What games started coming into play? And you're like half guard. What was it for you?
Oh, okay. So I liked studying history of our gym.
Okay.
It only happened after the. Here's a embarrassing story. So you know how I said I trained at Fernando Fernandez gym on like a vacation kind of deal. I didn't realize there was a rivalry between Gracie and Novignal. Did not know that. So I bought a gi, trained there, came back. Hey AJ, I got a brand new gi from you're Novignal, right? AJ says, and I'm like, what the? I know that. I know I trained with you. What's the gift? And then I started researching the history. So we've always known to be half guard players in terms of Novignal. We didn't perfect it, but we did it. We didn't initially started, but we perfected it, right? So my favorite moves are half guards and defensive measures, right? I feel that I buy people time. That's my job as a coach within the gym, right?
Okay.
Everyone else can teach attacks. I buy people time. I show them defenses, right?
Nice.
Because like I like that. That's my personality is defense and then attack. But
Okay.
when I first initially started, like it took me 3.5 years. It's just like I think things started to click after blue belt because I realized, man, it's like I tell people, jiu-jitsu is this. It's like running a marathon and playing chess at the same time.
Mm.
So it's a mental game just as well as physical. There are tons of talented physical specimens out
Yes.
there in terms of wrestling, and they
Yes.
have that problem. You just have to put in the mat time, right?
Yes.
So for me, personally, I started feeling better after I got my blue belt, and I started sharing my experiences as a practitioner after that, right? I feel confident now I can teach the basics. That's the advanced stuff I leave to any of the brown belts and AJ, of course, right?
Mhm.
But I know the advanced stuff. I promised this year, AJ, I would learn I got taught like the baseball choke. Well, I wanted to learn it from every angle to be so sneaky. Well, guess what? I learned that, right? So can even feel it physically, the tightening of the gi and stuff. So, and then I share it with the white belts, and they start doing it to me. And when they catch me, it's good. Or when they get into position to catch me, it's good, right? It's like knowledge should be shared. And I think I started feeling comfortable after blue because I realized I couldn't believe I was a blue belt. And I still can't believe I'm a brown belt sometimes too. Like he kept on promoting me. I don't understand. But I realize now, like, he knows what he's doing. Your coach, trust your coaches, honest to God, because like I'm a better person as well as a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I get to say that. Many people have tried to attain this level, right? No one gets to get at that level, right?
Yes.
Like I'll say this, like there's so many celebrities now doing jiu-jitsu. They understand it now. Like Jonah Hill of all people is like a blue belt now. Like
I love that Jonah Hill is doing jiu-jitsu. Yeah. That makes me so happy. Not the typical, like, obviously Keanu Reeves, obviously these guys, but Jonah Hill doing it makes me happy.
Yeah. And I tried to not Twitter war him, but I tried to say, hey, I would love to roll with him because I really would love. I'm just curious, like, man, like he's under the Machado brothers, and like they're legends right now in Hollywood right now, and I'm just curious to how his jiu-jitsu is, right? And like, and for me, like I like to see that people are adapting for the ordinary person in a way in terms of physicality, right? So yeah, it's just been an amazing journey to see how jiu-jitsu has gone into the mainstream media. I've always wanted to roll with those types of guys, celebrities like Greg Clark from Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He is a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. No one knows.
I didn't know.
He is. Yeah, Agent Colton is.
I like that TV show.
Yeah, it's a wonderful show. You should try to have him on. Like those are goal settings for when you become the Joe Rogan of jiu-jitsu world. You know what I mean? So, yes. And I predict that for sure. And like he's an amazing person, and it really translates into his work, right? Like the discipline of that. You know, the smartest people are the ones who can like act and actually have a good memory for things. Right. So he started jiu-jitsu maybe, if I read correctly, like 11 years ago. He just started the journey, right? And like, and he obtained it through like blood, sweat, and tears. No, nothing was given to him for sure, too. Right?
Any master that we would know, like who's his professor?
I can't remember. Maybe under the Machado brothers for sure, because they
really like, capitalized on Hollywood, huh?
Oh yeah, they did. And I love the Machado brothers. I love the fact that they train jiu-jitsu for movie roles and stuff like that, like Keanu Reeves. You go to those because they're personable too. Like, for instance, entrepreneur like the name of Ty Lopez, the guy who does like all the online social media stuff. He, I think, is a blue belt under the Machado brothers because he had interest in jiu-jitsu, right? Wow. So it's interesting how you figure out lineage in terms of that. So those Hollywood type guys have the privilege and foresight to train. Like Charlie Hunnam, also a Machado student as well, right? So,
I think it's like, sorry to interrupt you, but you know how like you started, you're in Regina, Saskatchewan, you started jiu-jitsu, other people, you go to school and you tell people about jiu-jitsu, and then the people that hang out in Regina, Saskatchewan start hearing about jiu-jitsu. I think what the Machados did very intellectually, is they got an actor on board, Ashton Kutcher, and then they started getting. I believe actually before Ashton Kutcher, wasn't it from Fast and the Furious?
Oh, Paul Walker.
Wasn't he he was the first one in Hollywood to do jiu-jitsu?
He was the first one in Hollywood. He obtained his blue belt. Posthumously, they gave him his black belt because he passed away, but he was working towards that. Apparently,
he was a brown belt when he passed away.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was. If I'm not mistaken, he was a brown belt when he passed away, and that's why he was one of the first people. But what happens is Paul Walker goes, grabs a drink with a bunch of guys, and then shows them a wrist lock. And oh shit, Ashton Kutcher goes to class, and then Ashton Kutcher takes a few classes. Oh, he learns some fucking arm drag. Now he does it to somebody else, and that's because it's the same. It works the same way in like the bowling club. It works the same way in Hollywood.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned Ashton Kutcher because he has a provenance of being a wrestler before this. So he was in Iowa, where he's from. He is a wrestler and stuff like that. So like he if you train on the Machado brothers, they're legit. Let's just face it. Like wise, if you think about Machado, Eddie Bravo, Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah, Jean-Jacques Machado and the lineage, man, is scary.
Yeah, it is, and they're legit. They have so many clever things, right? It's just like I like learning technique. I just stick to the basic now because I realize sometimes you just got to like do what's right for you, right? We have a triple threat, the triple threat series: Kimura, sweep, and what else? A guillotine. And that's like a basic for everyone. But when people start chaining events, you know what? The most jealous I am of white belts, because we used to only learn one move and then fight each other for that move. Now they have like combinations like crazy, right? Dude, I would like to do a time travel and like do that again, right? If you watch the early days of UFC, like Hoist, like he's like I would say a blue belt status in terms of how he was rolling and stuff. There's so much evolution.
Oh my god,
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. But you know what? This is the thing, and I love Elio Gracie wearing a blue belt close to the years where he passed away. Yeah. And it sends a big message. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's just old and he's ranking down. I think the message that he's sending is that this is when he needs the foundations more than ever. Because yes, jiu-jitsu is accelerating, triple threats, we're chaining things together as white belts and blue belts. But in the end of the day, the 10,000 reps or 10,000 mat sessions have to be paid. You have to pay the iron price, right? Or I don't care if you got your black belt in 5 years. You didn't pay the iron price. You didn't pay the decade. You didn't do that. Get the black belt in 3 years. I don't give a shit. You didn't get. There's no way. There's not enough time in the day for you to get that muscle memory.
Yeah, I told AJ. I tried to emphasize it like to him. Like I care just being with the gym. I don't care about promotions now because I reached the highest for myself. I like honestly envisioned myself. I got to do more. I got to be better as a person and stuff like that. And like, I forget, like, man, I thought I'd die a blue belt. Honest to God, when I got my purple belt, man, I was like, oh my God, I kept on crying. I tend to cry. I'm sorry. I tend to cry. And
no worries, man.
Every promotion I've ever had. It's just
what
weird.
A guy.
Yeah, but
it's heartwarming, man. Like, it makes me so happy to see somebody that loves jiu-jitsu this much as me.
Well, yeah, it helps me deal with everyday stress and like I love my friends. Like it's easy to be AJ students because like he gives you tough love, right? When you need it, right? He also shows you love when you need it the most, right? Especially when you like deal with real losses in life, right? So and so like he's there for people like even when they don't do so well in tournament. Okay, what do we improve? Okay, just listen to me and we'll get through this and we'll improve, right? And it's just like acknowledgement, right? It takes more to be a leader. You have to show some sort of compassion and understand like it's not just about you, it's about everybody. It's a team, right? And AJ has instilled that in all of us, like from white belt to black. He's built world champions, bro. Like he's a world champion himself. Like Bill Beaudry, a world champion, right? Like he's brought people to worlds. They've won gold medals and stuff like that. And just because of the dedication, because he loves jiu-jitsu, he knows more jiu-jitsu than anyone I know, and he keeps on evolving, but still sticks to the basic. Like conditioning is such a huge thing for us. Like that's why I'm lasting so long. Here's the thing: my mom worries about if I get injured or not. I'm smart. I'm not going to get injured. I know when to tap. I have no ego. It's okay. I fight to live another day. I'm known around the gym to survive chokes. Well, I paid a heavy price this year because now I have to, my eyes were damaged from you don't realize that when you hold your breath, you're creating stress on your eyes. I had eye droplets and stuff like that. Got to get that. Yeah. It's part and parcel with also being diabetic as well, right? Blood vessels, you never think about it, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why there's prevalence of type 2 diabetics and type 1 getting a blindness in their aging years, right? Every time I think about that, I think about the guy from MacGyver, the old mentor dude. He had type 2 diabetes, I think, and he became blind because of it. So I'm very cognizant of that. So how do I prevent blood clots from happening or my eyes bugging out? I'm going to have to be humble and tap sometimes, right? Just to survive for longevity. But think about it. I've been with AJ for 13 years. I'm a brown belt jiu-jitsu. I have accomplished more than most people have in their lifetime. I've done a lot of stuff.
You have.
In terms of I sent you my I have for instance, even my offline life, I have a degree, I have a certificate of technology and entrepreneurship from Stanford University. I forgot I did that. Man, when you asked me for that, dude, I forgot that I have that providence. And the thing is, I keep on, I forgot that I did all these different martial arts. That's why I wrote it down. What are we going to talk about, right?
You reminded me of this quote. I can't remember where it was from, but I remember the gist of it, which is there's this guy that was so wise and so knowing. He's done so much in life, and he says, "I've probably forgotten more than you've accumulated in your entire life."
Yeah, and
I like that.
Yeah, man, it's true. I keep forgetting. That's why I feel when you put motivational speaker, I forgot that I did that. I've done that for nonprofit groups. It just reminded me that whole list of accomplishments. And the thing is, the accomplishments help give provenance to a person, but also what do you do with those accomplishments, right? How do you help your fellow man and your teammates and your family? I know I'm the man of the house now because my dad has passed, but his legacy is the love that I give, right? Yeah. And I love jiu-jitsu. The same thing, the love that AJ has shown not only the families that come to him with their kids, to the teammates that I have, to the friends that I have now, that's ongoing. That will be forever. That is a legacy. And jiu-jitsu isn't just about beating and learning arm bars and triangles. It's about creating that fighting family cohesive unit, right?
Yes.
So for me, how do I do that? Well, I'm a good son. I love my mom and sister. I know that I provide for them mechanical and dexterous needs. And just this morning, dude, I lifted winter tires from the car so that they can have all seasonal tires. And she appreciates that because she worries about my strength. But I have to point out to her occasionally, Mom, I lift winter tires for you.
You're always the baby boy, man. That's how it works.
Yeah, I'm not weak. I use my legs. I don't use my lower back because my friend Mark Kleefeld says you got to lift with your legs, bro. Right? So yeah. But I have great friends like Robert Pitzel, Mike Wood, Sam King, Adam Wayne, Mark Kleefeld, Paul Grabinski, Bill Beaudry. All of them are world champions in their life, right? Because they have. Daryl Svensson, he's a black belt too. Josh LaValle,
these are guys that train with you guys.
Yeah, those are high level guys. Sam will always kick my butt. Jesse Schellenberger will always kick my butt because they have wrestling experience, because they've done it for longer than me. Because they're Jesse makes me a better jiu-jitsu player because we always attack the legs because he knows I'm reluctant to attack the legs, right? He's a big Dean Lister fan. He's a big Danny here fan, but he makes me want to learn it. Doesn't mean I can pull it off, right? I always get I attempt a leg lock on Jesse. Guess what? He's gonna lock me back really quick. Sam is just a different beast. Adam Wayne's a different beast. You should have them all.
That's the problem. That's the problem with a leg lock. If you go for a leg lock, you risk getting leg locked yourself. Because you're also exposing your feet to them. So it's definitely, this is a big part of the game that I'm focused on now, actually.
Yeah. Man. And you know what?
Wow.
It's like a quantum leap. Like everyone, there was this awesome UFC video of a guy doing an Inamari roll, and he got the leg lock, and it was like, and then he switched to a knee bar. It was crazy. It was so quick. It was one of the quickest submissions,
Wasn't
I think, in Bellator history, or one. I can't remember. I'll have to send you the video.
Bellator, not UFC, but I mean against BJ Penn. What's his name? The Wizard. He's a jiu-jitsu really famous guy. He beat BJ Penn in like 10 seconds, Imanari roll into a footlock and tapped him out.
Yeah. That it was weird. I forget. We forget the names. You only remember legends stay, dude. BJ Penn, when you don't listen about like the legends. Like BJ Penn is also Nova Niao as well. I just remember that. Like, but if you beat a legend, like you think you would become a legend, but you still think about the legend, right? But
exactly.
That's interesting. Yeah. But yeah, it's just like I wish I could name all the guys that are in my gym, but they make us better. It's like character building, right? Like it's just like, man, like everyone has their struggles. Like we even have teammates who AJ lets them allow to like go for their dream. Like my friend Luke Man Abdi is in Montreal. He was training at TriStar because AJ has his connection there and stuff like that. And right now COVID has stopped that, but Luke Man's trying to get healthy and doing all that thing. He's like a really great guy. Like internationally, like I feel that I would scream up to the top of my lungs on every rooftop and say like, how great is this man? How he's built champions in real life and off and on the mats, right?
The impact that you have as a black belt coach, as somebody that's ambitious. Like not anybody can be like AJ, for example. Everything you're telling me about him. But every country seems to have these. Like I interviewed a guy that is just off the top of my head. Again, he keeps coming up. Tawfiq Jean Boucas from Mauritius. If you have heard that podcast, if you haven't actually, please do check it out. This man literally brought it to Mauritius in Africa, in a country that didn't have anything. And it takes people like Tawfiq and AJ to change lives. And I love hearing these stories. It's really magnificent.
And thanks to this, like if you think about it, like it's been kind of a blessing that the jiu-jitsu community has come together and said, like, understand where you're coming from. This too shall pass. We just got to be smart about it, right? You can't. Here's the advice that I can give for the wider audience. You can't outthink a virus, but you can strengthen what you are as a person. Whether it's like your immune system to the way you treat others, right? And that's the true test of humanity, right? I'll give you another glimpse of hope too. Remember, we don't live in Spanish flu times. We live in modern times. So we have all the knowledge of what the Spanish flu was. We stayed in to protect those that are most vulnerable. I want to thank the jiu-jitsu community, everyone around the world listening to this, that you're staying home for me and that you're staying home for the most vulnerable and you're staying home for the ones you love, right? Which is the generation above us, which is the grandparents, the great grandparents, you know? And we're staying home for the kids too, because we want our future to be bright, and it will be, because like this too shall pass. I spent an hour talking to a good friend about this. And I said, like, you got to look for the good, and like, you can be the good too, right? Doesn't mean you have to be a passive observer of life, right? You have to slow down to go faster. And this taught us like we can heal our injuries. I bet you the next 10 years, the best black belts who are over 40 have healed through this pandemic and have kept on training, but they've allowed their bodies to heal. We'll see the most awesome jiu-jitsu matches in the next decade or so. I'm not joking.
That's actually a very good point, man, because the injured jiu-jitsu people, so many people I know did their surgeries now because they've just pushed their surgeries. They didn't want to do their surgeries. They've been so busy. Now that they're like, well, I got 3 to 6 months ahead of me that there's definitely no jiu-jitsu. They're like, let me do it now. So you're absolutely right. I think we also give our body a chance to recover because working out, training, jiu-jitsu, the part of training is resting. And a lot of us were not giving ourselves the rest. I, for one, was getting torn apart from the training. So I definitely value this time I had off.
I would say I don't hate it, but I love quoting it. Like Chuck Norris once said, resting is training too. If you read his biography, you have little gems from it. And he said, and the reason why I say slow down to go faster, he was talking about fighting. So when you have that adrenaline rush of things, and then it slows down when you're fighting someone, like it helps you to give you perspective, right? And this was the ultimate test. That's why I kind of talking it in the past, because like I look forward to the future where we can go back to a normal that we realize and understand, but also we have to understand ourselves. This has been the most introspective case for humanity and for jiu-jitsu itself. We will always have jiu-jitsu. We just gotta survive the next year, to be honest. Like 6 months, year, right? Because like if you think about it, a low level like dosage of steroids that's helping people survive COVID from 33% rate. Well, guess what? That was researched, and guess what? They're gonna find better therapies. And right.
Yes, they are. Yeah, have you seen that you mentioned Chuck Norris? Have you seen Chuck Norris's video with him and the Gracies when they first came to the US in a seminar?
Yeah, dude, I'm such a fan of anything that like comes up with jiu-jitsu. Like I've probably seen the same videos. You and I get along really great.
Yes.
You've probably seen the same videos. Like, I saw that and I thought that was really amazing. They even had him on Walker, Texas Ranger. Did you see that video?
Yes.
Yeah, that was really good too. And
it was nice because he pulls up Hickson of all of them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if Chuck Norris knew what the fuck he was doing, because when you pull up Hickson, you're gonna get your ass tapped. And Hickson gave him a nice surprise. He was very humble, very nice, and then tapped the shit out of him.
Yeah. I know. And you know, the beauty of it is like Hickson was doing all this breathing stuff that was before anyone, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, man, like there's a scene in The Incredible Hulk of all things. Let's bring it back to Marvel, where Edward Norton has breathing. That's Hickson Gracie there.
Yes.
His abs are amazing. He's like breathing. Like we do these stretches. I was always thought the origin of stuff for jiu-jitsu. Why do we do the warm up? Why do we stretch out? It's like the analogy of like warming up your car makes it go better kind of deal, right?
Sure.
But to be honest, we kind of need to treat our bodies and stretch it out so that we can have longevity, right? You don't see yogis who are in their 80s like they can still do the moves, right? They think about their ligaments. So I started thinking about my ligaments, bro. So for instance, I take glucosamine now, like most, right?
Yeah.
I eat more fish, if anything, inspired by your fish videos online and stuff.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah. And, but I make sure I have my omega-3s up, and I feel a lot more better. It also helps fight diabetes, ironically. It's like excellent. Yeah. And also turmeric as well.
I think on these supplements, actually, it's two supplements that really have made a big difference for me is definitely glucosamine and vitamin A.
Yeah.
Vitamin A made a definite, like, I felt the difference with that. But you know what, man? I mean, it's funny. Everything that you're saying, like, makes perfect sense. Honestly, I like your approach to jiu-jitsu. I like your approach to how you try to find the best in things. Have you ever read about the oxygen advantage?
I haven't.
Okay, so Hickson Gracie is somebody that's very visionary in what he did with his breathing. There's a book called The Oxygen Advantage. I highly recommend you and everybody listening to read it. I was recommended to it by a guest on this podcast. So basically, the concept is your breathing obviously controls your heart rate. It controls your hormones, your emotions, and everything. Yeah. What Hickson Gracie promotes, and if you watch all of his video, it's taking that deep breath in, but also exhaling for a very long period of time.
Yes.
So what that does is it creates a hunger in your body for oxygen. And at the same time, it releases the parasympathetic system, so you're not in fight or flight mode. What happens in that is we usually breathe more than we have to. A lot of people breathe from their mouth. This is terrible because it doesn't regulate the temperature of the breath, but it also allows for more oxygen in than you'll consume.
Yeah.
We end up with a surplus of oxygen in our blood that it makes our body lazy in processing the oxygen into our blood, and thus makes us gas out and our VO2 max to be lower. So this book, I really recommend people to read it because it teaches you ways and exercises that changed my fucking life, dude.
Oh, really? Like, wow.
In my jiu-jitsu game has been altered because I don't stress out while I'm training, and I don't gas out as much as I used to.
Yeah, dude. Oh, bro, when we even talk the white belt years, dude, totally get it. Like, you get claustrophobic. Like, that's why I concentrate on breathing the most, because it helps you fight the panic.
Yeah.
Because like if you notice when you're first as a white belt, you're panicky when you first get choked, or you're panicky when you're in pain and stuff like that. By controlling, like make a minute an hour, day, a day, a month, a year. I have that saying. So like I stretch out times feeling that I have, like, for instance, if I'm writing an exam, if I have an hour for the exam, I have a day to complete it. In a way, it tricks my mind, right? Same thing with breathing. Like, you're right. Like, if you notice in the thing, he only breathes through his nose, right? And
Yep.
closes his mouth and like exhales when he has to, right? So
Yep.
it's just amazing that if Hicks and Gracie can accomplish and give that knowledge of breathing, like, breath is so important. You're right. I'm gonna have to start doing that, dude. You just kind of blew my mind. I'm gonna have to read that
Yeah.
book. What's it called again? Oxygen of
The Oxygen Advantage.
Oxygen
It's a fantastic, short, straight to the point book, and it was actually basing its example. So, to summarize a little bit of the concept for you and for the listeners. So, what happens when athletes and competitors go and do elevation training? They go up to the mountains, they go to Mexico, and they end up training. When they come back to their country, their performance is always 10 to 20% better than it used to be. And then it starts plummeting. When you live closer to the sea level, you end up flattening out. Why is that? When you go on higher elevation, your body's actually taking in less oxygen, causing oxygen starvation. When you spend a week in Mexico or in a high elevation environment, your body is starving for oxygen. Then you go back to sea level, your body is super efficient. That week, you will perform like a beast. So they took that science and like, how can we replicate elevation training and elevation breathing within our own workouts so that we can have the elevation, oxygen starvation, and the efficiency all in 1 hour? That's the cool shit, man.
So, you know what it reminds me? Many UFCs ago, they had Mexico. I think there was, a
lot of people gassed out, bro.
So one of the heavyweights lost because he didn't come in early. And, Khabib does that too when they went for
Dagestan.
Yeah. So it's really interesting, right? So it's like proven. So they knew that before that too, right? Like, that's why they come in early for Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, let's look at Russia. Russia in the Olympics, just before every Olympics, they send their athletes to the mountains.
Yeah.
Russia has always been advanced with their science for their athletes, whether it's doping, whether it's these kind of things. Yeah. And you look at Khabib, he refuses before fights. He has to train in Dagestan.
Yeah.
And you think about it, there is definitely a huge oxygen advantage there because he comes into it way more efficient than others in breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely something that makes a difference in jiu-jitsu.
I think it's a lifestyle and mindset. Like, I watched the Fighter Chronicles or something. Like the guy.
I missed that show, man.
Dude, you or not, like the guy who does his videos online.
Budo?
Anatomy of a Fighter.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you watch the whole series leading up to Conor, like, that's an amazing series. His editing and his point of view of showing the Dagestani lifestyle is really good. No wonder they call him brother, because he's a humble in terms of how he tells a story, but he has a really good story. He videos and edits. I used to do that too. Like, that's why I'm able to, like, I have really good visual memory. So like, I did videos for AJ and stuff like that too. Like, I have old works of stuff. Anyway, you're just reminding me of that. But I guess the long story short is, in terms of training, yes, breath is so important, and it also help fight this whole thing that's been happening, right? So
100%.
It's interesting. Yeah.
I definitely wanted to talk to you, Al, about this acting part of your life, because
I forgot about that. Oh my god.
This was there you go, another thing you forgot. But I found it interesting because I don't know much about the acting world. Obviously, other than I'm a heavy consumer of their product. But what got you to want to act as well? Like, are you doing this regularly?
I try to do it as regularly as my agent allows. I even had to turn down a role for a photo shoot because I do. This sounds funny. I'm not a model, but
Let's go, Al.
You have to do those photo shoots for like pamphlets and stuff, right? So
okay,
that's what's happening. So, but anyway, I love acting because I got into it because I like doing extra work. And we used to have a thriving film industry here in Saskatchewan. And through acting, I've gotten to meet a lot of different people. And the reason why I do it is because naturally, actually, my first instinct, if I ever went back in time, I would go into university doing acting because that's what I love. I actually love to tap into emotion and expel it, right? Because there's a word called veritas, which is truth. Right. And so I try to live my life as the philosopher Seneca says, I want the world to see me as a mirror, my inside and outside reflection of that. Right. So I'm just paraphrasing, but I try to live my life, and I have talent for it. So like of all my families, I've lived an interesting life for a guy who's 40. Like honest to God, like I met Chuck Liddell through my one little hobby that I have, which is acting, which is like
How did that come about? What
well,
was
what
it?
happened was Cage Fighter decided to shoot here in Regina, Saskatchewan. And
Okay.
like because they had a budget and they had connections, and the production studio that was here also in London decided, oh well, we have a place here in Regina, we can scout out. It could be cheaper too, because like they had a
Nice.
certain amount of budget, right?
Okay.
So they fly in Chuck Liddell, they fly in Luke Rockhold. And here's the funny thing. AJ knows these guys just through, like, he's met all the greats himself in the UFC, because like he's a jiu-jitsu guy, but he knows all the fighters. He doesn't humble brag. He should humble brag, but he knows them out on a personal, professional level, right? It makes sense, right? So they both talk, and they talk because like Chuck Liddell was also part of the Novignal family too, right? So I got a chance to be part of this set, and I was there for several days on and off. And it's just weird how my hobby started collecting in 2019. That's why I thought 2020 was going to be my year and everything, because like things were hitting gangbusters leading up to it.
Nice.
So, and I still believe that too. Like 2020 is going to be a great year for my life, because you're right. I do have that. My default.
It is a great year.
My default and also blood type, I'm going to admit this now, is B positive. So I got no choice. I love being that. So my sister, who's a nurse, just like laughs like, well, that's how you remember. Yeah, I'm B positive. Got it. So I got that chance, and I got to hang out with them after. A lot of extras don't, because like I knew AJ, and they said, oh, we're gonna hang out at Victoria's Tavern. Okay. Cool. Like, but I only hung out with my friends. I didn't know they were coming. Yeah. Right. It's just weird. It's just like, okay, that's cool. I got to hang out with an evening a little bit with Luke Rockhold and Chuck Liddell. Oh, weekend too. I think it was maybe the Wendell Alexander seminar. We had a seminar. It was like a busy weekend, and like we got to. AJ had so many people there. Like
Adam timed it well.
Yeah, I timed it well. It's just weird. Like I kind of got it freaking out, because like all my hobbies that I love, acting, jiu-jitsu, UFC, like my friends hanging out. It was like a perfect storm of opportunity that I have. And here's the wonderful thing about Chuck Liddell, and like I'll sing his praises as well, and Luke Rockhold. They were nice to people around Regina. They didn't have to be. They took pictures. They did. Chuck Liddell is not only an awesome like alpha male, but he's a good ambassador for not only UFC or MMA, but as a martial artist. So is Luke Rockhold as well, because like I got to hang out with those guys, and just like they're normal people. Like they like talking with people, because like they've achieved something at a great level that we can only fantasize about, right? Sure. But when people treat them like normal, they prefer that, because like, man, they're just as nice. It really surprised me. I thought there was going to be, you know what surprised me? Gina Gershon was wonderful in that movie too. Like also Elijah Baker, Alex Monty. I want to say his name. I always say Montague, but it's Montahini or something like that. You should have him on your podcast. Like he's the one who was in Cage Fighter, and John Moxley as well. Like reach out to them through Twitter and say like, Cage Fighter actually premiered during COVID. So they had the Fight Network, which promoted this, and apparently I have a scene in there. So it's cool. So yeah.
Man, that's amazing. So like the acting part, you have an agent, and you told him you want to be involved in fight related, or this one just fell together?
No, it just appeared on the radar of Regina. Everyone involved in the film industry came down. They even used AJ's gym to film, right? Because like, well, the director himself is a black belt in jiu-jitsu too. So nice. Yeah, it's interesting. I'll send you the info.
Please do.
And so they're wonderful people, and it's just like my hobbies started. Like I like combining hobbies too. Like it's weird. I have my hobby is like acting. Like I love Shakespeare and stuff like that. I like memorization. I think the smartest actors are the ones who are the most intelligent, because memorization is the most hardest thing if you want to learn anything, right? I think about dialogue and streams of books of dialogue, right? The hardest actors in Hollywood are actually soap actors, because their scripts change constantly, and they have to learn meanings of dialogue and storylines, and they have to emote. I always admire them. Craig John Batista. I think he's a brown belt or purple belt now. I can't remember. Like he came from
Batista's
a wrestling background. He's a
purple
great,
belt.
I
Terrifying
think he's
purple
purple
belt.
belt too. Yeah. Oh yeah. And he has a wrestling background. Like Chris Pratt, Marvel, he has a wrestling babackground. Like
Brown
anyone
belt,
who has
I believe. I know blue belt. Chris Pratt's a blue belt.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
got into the whole Hollywood scene of people. Like I always admired Greg Clark. I always am curious about Hollywood in terms of rolling. It's weird. Like I know that they're celebrities, but like I really want to roll with Jonah Hill. Or there's this funny comedian in Australia. His name's Ronnie Chang. He's
Okay.
part of the Daily Show, and
Okay.
you should reach out to him too. Like he's a blue belt in Jiu Jitsu. He mentioned it in his comedy special. And I keep on challenging him on Twitter. Man, I would love to roll with you. Let's like start a juice fight.
You're that guy on Twitter trying to catch
I'm
people.
Guy. I'm calling out celebrities right now. Jonah Hill, if you're listening to it, like Ronnie Chang, like
that's the thing. Like I think, you know, when you were saying Chuck Liddell and Luke Rockhold, they've achieved so many things that people would only fantasize about. I think actors feel the same way. Is they want people to treat them normal, and jiu-jitsu is this martial art that makes whoever it is normal, right?
Yeah.
It in the beginning, okay, everybody's gonna be like, "Oh my God, Jonah Hill, he's on the mat," and I'm no. But when rolling starts, I'm gonna strangle you. I don't give a shit if you're Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're all the same.
Yeah.
It's a great equalizer.
And
right?
I think that's something huge for actors that live a stressful life, that need to feel some sense of normality. I recommend everybody in acting to do jiu-jitsu, actually, to not go crazy.
No, and the thing is, like, it teaches you about positioning. Here's the funny thing about jiu-jitsu. I talk to the white belt kids a little bit, like in terms of like the teenagers, and I try to explain like there's verbal jiu-jitsu where you can like actually talk yourself in and out of situations. I use it all the time. I can out position anyone in an argument just because based on scientific data, I have the providence to do that. Because like I put in my mat hour time in my head, right? And so like the same thing with celebrities too. Like they're just discovering this sport and they're realizing, man, like it's just like the rumor. I'm not sure if you remember, like in Abu Dhabi, apparently there's this prince who is like this ultimate grappler.
Yeah.
And he invites people to win the Abu Dhabi tournament.
This is not a rumor.
It's the truth. I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it. I know it's the truth. So he does it. He grapples the best in the world. And they say he is one of the ultimate grapplers in the region itself. I don't know why he doesn't like come out like and like he doesn't do it for glory. He does it for the love of the art, right?
Man,
like,
listen, his name is Sheikh Tahnoon. Tahnoon. And quick brief history for you and whoever's listening that doesn't know much about the UAE. So the UAE is a very young country, 48 years. And Sheikh Tahnoon's father, Sheikh Zayed, is like the father of the country. And man, a man with no education, very humble beginnings, a Bedouin man, extreme visionary. He's one of the examples in the world. Like you'll read his stories about him. Is an absolutely incredible person. He built this entire country out of nothing in a desert, right? His sons are just like, they're from his genetics, right? So naturally, it's incredible genetics. The Crown Prince Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed and his brother Sheikh Tahnoon, when he was in the States, he in 1995 saw the UFC and he decided, I want to try it out, jiu-jitsu. So in San Diego, he gives it a shot and he goes into a gym, calls himself not Bob, Ben. Yeah, because his name is Sheikh Tahnoon bin Zayed. So he just took bin and he changed it to Ben. And he trained there for around 3 years, I believe. And nobody really knew he was a sheikh or a royal person. He went to the coach, explained to him who he was, and he brought jiu-jitsu here. Till today, he gets the best of the best. First-class tickets over here, sitting in the most luxurious homes and palaces, just to sit down and roll with them. The guy loves to fight. He loves to grapple. He's not an honorary grappler. It's fantastic.
Yeah. It amazes me because obviously there's this like underscoring love for the art. Yeah. It's like the gentle art, right? We know it's something that you can't explain it unless you try it, right? Your first roll, like when you survive like your first 2 classes and you realize, okay, this is something I can do, right? And that's why I encourage people when they first become like, if I can do it, you can do it. I had type 2 diabetes, you can do it. If I used to be 240 pounds, you can do it, right? Yeah. And I wouldn't mind meeting that guy. Like he's fascinating because like it just becomes like a legendary story among grapplers. They don't know the provenance or the origins of it. But to start something new in such a remote place, like what you're starting now for your podcast too, dude, it'll take off. Like here's a goal. I like goal setting. Like AJ never likes resolutions. He like saying goal setting, right?
Right.
Sometime maybe in the 6 months we'll talk again. Sometime in the year we'll talk again. Someday I will probably meet you if you visit. You mentioned you had a brother in Canada.
Yes.
Yeah, family there. More than likely, I'm going to meet you on the cross and like see how my life is, right? So, like, jiu-jitsu is so universal that, like, man, I feel like I've known you forever. It doesn't feel like a podcast now. It feels like, dude. You know,
that's the beauty, man, of jiu-jitsu plus podcast, and that's why I enjoy doing this, because I'm realizing there is no barrier between jiu-jitsu players. Like, we live so much identical situations because you've been doing jiu-jitsu 13 years. I've been doing it around 2013 to now 7 years, going on 8. And it's like 8 years of my life I'm doing something very similar to what you've been doing. It's natural that we'll get along.
Yeah. It just like breaks down barriers, and it just like you get it. Like most jiu-jitsu guys that I've trained with have been good guys, right? It's weird. It's like you have the mat protector, the guy who take out any of the
enforcer,
guys who try to like roid rage or try to like go through a gym. Like I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. But I have guys I know. The majority of my friends are fighters. Like I was just talking to Jan Steins, who's a Paralympic and does jiu-jitsu, right? You should have him on your podcast too. And he is inspiring. And he said, like, Alvil, you know a lot of fighters for someone who doesn't fight. And I'm like, holy shit, sorry, I apologize. Holy crow, you're right. Like it just amazes me that the quality of people is like elevates you, right? Like every guy that has trained with AJ has that kind of moral, central, and character that you recognize. You do jiu-jitsu too? Like I have friends in other rival gyms. And like, not that I'm trying to get like, they know what I bring to the gym. Like, not that they're trying to like poach me or anything, right? They know that I'm kind and I care about them as much because they do jiu-jitsu too, right? So it's nice to see that. Like I was just even reminded this morning, this guy who trains at a different gym like says, "Oh, I'm proud of you doing the podcast too, bro. It'll be awesome," right?
Yes.
It reaches out to the necessity, like, because it's humbling. Like your white belt years, the most humbling years. Even now I'm brown belt. Like when I look forward to going to the mats, but every advanced class, bro, I get my ass kicked. It's not easy. I'm not a born athlete. I'm a made athlete, and that's maybe even more harder. I realize I'm an athlete now. You know,
that's such a beautiful thing, by the way. Like jiu-jitsu is one of those. Yesterday I was talking to a powerhouse competitor from Bahrain, Ali Munfaradi, and we were having this discussion about like athleticism and other sports. Like basketball, you have to have certain attributes to be an athlete in basketball. Boxing, so on and so forth, to an extent. Jiu-jitsu has no entry requirements. No. You could be an athlete with one leg. Like one of the guys from Brazil I met, who's the president of what did they call it? Not Paralympics, but we have Para Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So he's the president of the Para Jiu-Jitsu Federation of Brazil. The guy is a killer, and he's an athlete, professional. Like, there's no other sport I can think of that you could be hot. I'm not not to diss on anything. I respect every sport. Every person has their own adversity that they have to overcome. But I'm not talking about, like, I would get strangled by this guy. There is no unfair, like, there's no handicap. They call it para jiu-jitsu, but I would get strangled by him. And this is the beauty of jiu-jitsu to me. There's no such thing as a limit. Absolutely not.
Yeah. And it's evolving. Like, there's like talk of like, because like we're sharing knowledge, I suspect in the next 10, 15 years, it's a quantum leap of thinking, right? Everyone has become more introspective. They're thinking of the Zen type of Danny here, kind of like a Zen way of approaching jiu-jitsu, right? Even I have adopted that too. Like, I don't have to be the greatest athlete. You don't have to be the greatest athlete. You just have to be, you have to show up and do the mat time, right? Like, I will be, to be honest, I promised myself when I come back to the mats, especially in advanced class, I got to be more selfish, and I got to let out my frustration more on the mats. And like, this is not bad. Like, I really need to show that I'm a brown belt under AJ, because like it's the providence that I'm nice and I love teaching and I love helping teach, and it's just like I gotta like show that I'm a brown belt under AJ Scales, if that makes sense, right?
Tell
Like,
me something.
I gotta show that I'm just as athletic as the Sam Kings or the Kevin Kings too. Like, man, I love those guys. Like there's so many people there that, here's another funny thing. We have more women now than ever in our gym. And it's due to not only AJ's teaching, but the quality of women there that want to learn jiu-jitsu. We have moms who are nurses or who are teachers and stuff like that. Nice. We have people who work in the nonprofit industry, like Victoria and like Dallas and like Michelle and Kaylee and like all those girls that and then the young girls who've been with AJ for the longest, like 16-year-old Maddie and Eden and like and Kira, who's just starting up too. Like all those women who were there, I admire them for their strength, as well as like the fact is jiu-jitsu can make you comfortable too, right? Yeah. The thing is, like, our gym has increased. There's no secret why women come to our gym. It's because they have a relaxed atmosphere. And plus, like, everyone's treated equal. Here's the thing. That's the secret to a great gym. If you treat everyone as equal in terms of their skill level, and then they start to advance, you just like see them collecting points, see them collecting like stripes, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's true. I have a question for you. When did you get your brown belt?
I think it was last year for sure. It's got to be. I have the certificate downstairs. You think I would memorize, for a guy who has a great memory, you think I would memorize the date, but it's just I
got you there.
Yeah.
So tell me something then. As a thought experiment, do you see yourself as a black belt?
That's a tough question.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Okay, I'm going to be honest. Truth, Veritas time. I see it when posthumously, meaning like when I'm gone, like when I pass away, because I have to earn that stuff, dude. Even though I've put in 13 years, I have like blue belt tendencies. I have purple belt tendencies. I do not have the providence of saying that I am a black belt at the level that in comparison to the world, because black belts are special. There's a reason why they're black belts. Some people take like in other martial arts, they take less years for that. But I don't. I told AJ before this, I don't care about the promotions anymore. I care about being with the team. I tried to say it in the most nicest way possible, because like I don't need the promotion. I just need to be with you guys. And I think I already have the character. I never thought I'd reach this level of brown belt. I always thought I'd die a blue. To be honest, I always thought I'd die a blue. And now that I put in the time, I know I put in mad hours. I'm just not as athletic as my compatriots. But maybe someday, like, I envision it so that maybe my brother will be rewarded at my, I hate to bring up death, but funeral and stuff like that, because I don't need it during this lifetime. I don't feel worthy just yet. I'm worthy as a person. Yeah. But I don't see, it's hard to obtain, bro. There's standards. Like I can't say I put in the time. You know what? Here's the funny story. Miyagi, Karate Kid, gives this example to Daniel's son. Daniel's son asks him, what type of belt are you? Oh, he said, JC Penney, 398. And it's such a profound line. No one thinks about it. I memorize it for the life of me.
I remember that. That.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you're a black or brown. It's like, what knowledge and experience have you put into it? I know that every stripe that took me 3.5 years to be my blue belt. Those are the most formative years of my jiu-jitsu learning, right? But I'm still learning. Like, I sometimes get nervous when I help teach. I always feel like I'm getting wrong. Or like when AJ's helping me teach what I'm in as the example, right? I always get nervous. I still have those jitters because I feel like, man, like I have imposter syndrome being on the mats with like world champions and stuff like that. Like, and now I feel confident now because of like all the situation that we have. Like, I truly have to accept the fact that I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I'll be happy if I get awarded my black belt before I die, but it doesn't, it's not the journey or the destination. It's a destination, right? The journey, how can I say it? The destination's important, but the journey is much more fruitful, you know?
If I may,
Yeah.
if I may add to this, and maybe just banter between me and you.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying, and I understand the hesitation and the overthinking. But
Yeah.
in jiu-jitsu and everything in life, the only opponent, the only comparison you have is yourself. It has nothing to do with other people. I just see somebody like you, and I think to myself, the infectious attitude you have, the positive attitude you have, the mindset, the approach, the technicality, everything you've said. Me and you have not trained jiu-jitsu ever. We have never grappled. I feel like you can offer a grappler just as much as technique by your personality. And black belt does not mean fighting. I've really, like, I sit and I think about this genuinely. We do give it. It's a JCPenney. It's a piece of cloth, but it's about what it represents, not what it does. Right now, I could go and put on a black belt. I'll still get my ass kicked by black belts, but it's not what it represents. A black belt can get tapped by a blue belt, can get tapped by a purple belt. It has happened.
Yeah.
It's the black belt represents your willingness to master, not the fact that you've mastered. I think black belt is your willingness to become a master, because it's not a destination. Like you're saying, I prefer the journey destination. Yeah, it's the journey. Because I just think like the belts think of the culture that created the concept of belts. Japan, right?
Yeah.
If there was a philosophical country out there, it would be Japan.
Yeah. That's true.
I'm damn sure that Japan isn't like, okay, now I'm the shit and I can kick people's ass. That's why I have this. It has nothing to do with that. I think somebody like you, one day, I hope to see you wearing the black belt, because I think a person like you could have a tremendous impact on people with your energy and your enthusiasm. And I don't want it to wait till just before you die. I want it to happen soon, because you have the energy right now in spades.
Well, I appreciate that. It's just like, you're right. You pointed out something like, well, I want to be a black belt of life. Like, it's just like, I keep on telling people.
And
like,
you want to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu, man. You got to say that shit, because that's how you become a black belt.
I got to put in the time. I'll be honest. I got to put
Fuck
in
time. You're already doing time. Forget time.
Yeah.
There's a point where time goes. There's a point when all of these happen. You're already doing it. It's acceptance, right? You have to be willing to receive it. You have to be willing to go towards it, to get there, to attain it. And it's not about... there's no such thing as a perfect black belt. Man, I've been talking to so many incredible people like Jose Jr. Please go back and watch that podcast with him. The guy annihilated the black belt division at heavyweight. Just listen to how much he lost in the beginning, and how lack of confidence, his body, his type, his shape had nothing to do with it. And he just accepted it. He says, you're never ready for the black belt until you get the black belt. You're not a black belt.
Yeah. Well, I to be honest, I can see his mindset too. Like my dad said, once again, like, wait for the appointed time. I'll wait for the appointed time. It's
wait
just
for the appointed time.
Yes, I'll trust my coach. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
But I think I can accept the fact that I just accepted the fact that I am a brown belt. Dude, like that took like maybe a year or two. Like, we're talking like, I keep on laughing at each of my promotions. My memory's just like going through every time I cried, every time I cried. But but it's just because it's special between coach and student, right? And like, I'm okay. I get it. I know what you're saying. Like, well, the thing is too, I do provide some sort of weird, like, the heart and soul of the gym. I feel that AJ has given room for everyone to give, right?
Yeah.
And for me, like, I love everyone that comes through those doors, and like, I treat them like that when they first begin, like, they're nervous, but you know what? Like, you get over anxiety really quick if you have someone like guiding you, right? And like, I in my own life too, like, even now, like the funny thing is, for COVID, I'm gonna explain, like, I was headed up to Saskatoon, which is 2 hours away from Regina. I was supposed to have, like, career-wise, do social media and get my life in order kind of deal. And that all stopped. And it really made me realize, like, what's important in my life, right? It's my friends, it's my family. It's like the things that we take for granted, which is the time that we spent with each other, right? Yes. And at the end of the day, I got to look at it as like, man, lived an amazing life. And you just made me realize this just by doing this podcast, because not
I'm
everyone
happy.
gets to meet Chuck Liddell. Not everyone gets to train with world champions like AJ or Bill Baldry. Not everyone gets to
Absolutely.
fight with wrestlers of Providence, like my
Absolutely.
friends like Sam King, Kevin King, and like Adam Wayne. Like, it's crazy, right? So for me, I will accept it, but it'll take, like, the same thing. I'll suck for the next couple months, then I'll start turning on beast mode for some reason. It just clicks, right? It takes time for me, right? It just like, okay, I'm at this level, I have to click a little bit better, right? Like I felt more confident after purple because like, oh, I'm starting to get this, everything that the blue belt goes to. I can see, here's the thing, I like timing because we have like a 5-minute thing. Like when you roll with white belts who are new, I like timing, and like I can get them into a submission at the end, but like I like timing it at the bell because it's a challenge for me, right? So I get myself in a bad position, and I wait till the very end and then time it, and then it beeps, and they're wondering, how did you do that? Well, you see, in my head, I have a countdown clock of how much energy and time I have for you. I think of which bad positions I can get out of. I like escaping bad position, and so like for me, like rolling with every different level belt, like every Saturday, I set a goal for myself: white, blue, purple, brown, black. 5 rolls at 5 minutes each for half an hour straight, no breaks, right? Yeah. That's hard sometimes, but every time I do roll, I see through the journey, and I kind of feel I have this, whenever we roll, like I have this like precog thing. If someone has like experience when they first start, like I can tell that they have wrestling. It's weird. It's like when they grip you a certain way when they're first beginning, like I'm like, okay, he has experience in wrestling at least a year or so.
Let's say not jiu-jitsu, grappling is a conversation.
Yeah.
Just like me and you are talking right now, grappling is a conversation. Everything a person does, and by the way, everything you're telling me about your jiu-jitsu, and I'm envisioning it, I can already get a sense of your personality. I sense already that you're the kind of guy that allows people to potentially put you in a corner because you know that's where your strength is.
Oh yeah.
And then when you're put in a corner, you're the kind of guy that will fucking lash out. So I like that. Like, it's smart.
Well, I'm smart about it because I can actually, here's the thing. Here's another secondary thing that I like putting myself. If I know my partners has injuries, I know where the injuries are before they start. And I say, do you have any injuries? And they said, yes, my shoulder or my I haven't been doing too well with my knees. Okay, I'll stay away from that. And I'll position myself so that I'm not in danger and he's not in danger, but I know when not to attack. And that's very difficult. If you think about it, it's like precog everything, right? You have to, in my mind, I have matches as well. Like I fight myself at blue and purple, right? Like who would want it more, right? Like I really do that. It's like the mental gymnastics of doing this that happens before we even slap hands and bump fists is like amazing to me. I like doing prediction models for myself, especially during matches. Like I say, let's say if we do marathon matches, like AJ has 6 minutes, we keep on upping the minutes, right? Gracie matches and stuff like that. So like, especially when they're preparing for tournament, like, okay, well, we're going to have to go with shark taking each other. Okay. Right. There's this one legendary story of like, or I've seen it like where Steve, our resident black belt now, like he didn't let anyone pass his guard for like a good half hour nonstop. No one could, the goal was to pass guard. He stopped everybody. And like, you kind of aspire to do that, those sorts of things, right? Like,
I like that, man. I like that culture.
Yeah, it's good. Like, we have to be beasts too, man. It's just not just mental too. Like AJ has been preparing us to return. Like he has certain phases that we have to do, right? And like, it's the same thing for me too. Like I got to prepare my body because I don't want to come back weak, like mentally or physically, right, man?
Everybody, Al, has their feat to perform. And we don't all have to perform the same feat, right? So your resident black belt did that feat to inspire others to achieve a level of greatness in that.
Yeah.
Everybody has their purpose in life. And I really believe that it's important that people in jiu-jitsu understand that there's so much purpose you can have within jiu-jitsu that is not just competing and strangling. There's so many people out there whose lives, like yours, can get drastically changed by jiu-jitsu.
Oh yeah.
And you don't have to be Bushesha to convince them to do it. it usually takes people like you and me that aren't necessarily competitors, that aren't people that are like, since I've started this, I don't think there's a clear video of me strangling people to promote my page in a single, I have never posted a single post of me choking anybody. But yet I feel a lot of people have gotten closer to jiu-jitsu because this is an avenue towards it. And what you're doing is an avenue. So you could be black belt in that avenue. It's just like, there's a black belt that can't convince anybody to be into jiu-jitsu. He's fantastic. He's a fucking killer, but he can't get anybody to train.
It comes down to the concept of steel sharpens steel, right? Like that's an old, not only biblical proverb, but AJ says that a lot too. Like we make each other better by improving each other, right? And it's just like, that's where mat time is. It's like, it's weird. Like I always say jiu-jitsu is like a collection of arguments. So a black belt has all these knowledge and arguments. A purple belt has all these arguments. You come together, guess what? Who has more knowledge? Who has more experience? The black belt will argue with. It's like you're having a conversation without talking, right? Because like I can tell, like it's weird. Like I guess the reason why I see it's weird is because I can tell who's a purple belt, who's blue under a certain system. Like I can tell when European jiu-jitsu guys come to our gym to train as a visitor. And I roll with them. It's because they like attacking the legs a lot more. It's just because of the region of where they are, and I can tell by their accent. And I'm like, oh. Or one time this guy came from California. I knew he was a white belt for sure, but he had some training, at least 2 years. I asked, hey, you probably have a 4-stripe white belt. And he said, yeah, like, how'd you know? I'm like, oh, I can kind of tell by the way you roll. It's just weird because like you put in the category and knowledge of it, like baseball in a way. Like you see the stats and scores and you watch all the videos that you can. And like there's so many clever people out there like Ranger Oliveira who gives like really neat like little tips. Or there's this guy I follow the grappling arts on from Australia. This guy he gives like really neat tips about the Kimura, little things, right? Little subtlety, right? Yeah. Whew.
Yeah, man. No, it's an ocean out there of jiu-jitsu, and thankfully, I believe there's been so much content out there in jiu-jitsu, but not enough consumption. And I think now is a time that a lot of consumption is happening, and we're going to start filtering out and finding out what we need as a community, and reaching out to each other more. And I'm really happy we did this, Al. Honestly, I like it's such a pleasure talking to you. I personally. Now you set predictions and goals, so I'm gonna do my little prediction. Is one day we will celebrate you getting your black belt, and you will know and feel worthy of it, because you really are a person that deserves everything that you've gotten in jiu-jitsu. I admire the way you think. I appreciate people like you, and I think more people like you need to be heard in jiu-jitsu. That's why I'm so proud of this podcast, because it's really humbling.
Well, thank you for having the platform, and thank you for thinking of us like quote unquote ordinary athletes. And like I really respect what you're doing. You've done something that, you know, your legacy will be the conversation that all these people have, right? Like, and like when I look back at all your podcasts, like I tend to research, and I tend to like I just wanted it to flow, and we flowed so well today. It's just like, I wish I could leave a tidbit of information, which is like, keep on going, keep on pushing forward, no matter what in life. You know, jiu-jitsu teaches us how to not only get into position before submission, but it also teaches us how to escape bad ones as well. And I gave this speech when I was purple belt, and I'll leave it at that. Like jiu-jitsu in front of Hobson Moore of all people. And I said, jiu-jitsu taught me that there is no such thing as a bad position, that you can always find an escape. And that escape can lead to a better position. You start stacking good things in your life, right? And so I want to thank you for having me on this podcast. We talked for a good time. It flew
2 hours plus, man. And I tell you, I enjoyed every minute of it, because I tell you, I don't know if you've gotten this just by now, I am in love with jiu-jitsu and everything about it, and not just the competition. And talking to you made me feel so good, because I'm like, damn, there's somebody out there that's got more stripes on me in terms of loving jiu-jitsu. So I gotta work on this. Man, amazing.
you put in your mat time. You're helping the community at large too. You got to remember that. Take credit for that, dude. Like you're bringing people together that normally wouldn't be able to talk because there's busy schedule or stuff like that, right? But eventually, like, dude, this is ongoing forever. You know, dude. Like,
I hope it is, because that's the thing. There's a lot of extraordinary athletes, but there's also a lot of extraordinary ordinary athletes.
Yeah,
and I there's a lot more of them, I believe.
Yeah, we're lucky to have a great community. I'm lucky the greats are so humble and nice, right? We're
absolutely, man. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for doing this with me. Everybody on YouTube, thank you for watching, man. Al, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. You take care. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time. And we'll be in touch. Let's set a goal we'll set a goals. It's all good.
I got a goal in mind. Don't worry. I got you, brother. There's going to be a special time where we do this podcast again, and I'm going to pick your brain. You just wait and see. Much love, brother.
It's all good.
Hang in there. Hang in there. Thank you, everybody on YouTube. Much love. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Do check out Alvil's Instagram page, The Real Al Tayco. That's it.
Yeah, The Real Al Tayco. I can say a little joke. I'm hashtag Asian Channing Tatum on Instagram as well. So
I like that one. All right, cool, man. Thanks a lot, everybody. Catch you guys next time. Stay sharp. Us.